Welcome to The Buzz. We're going to have some fun, hear things you'll never hear anywhere else, and learn how to take 1 hour off your marathon PR. That may be an exaggeration, but I am Buzz Burrell, and we're going to have real conversations with the people who help define this amazing sport of running, which often feels like more than just a sport. So send me your questions and comments to buzz@ultrasignup.com so we can do this together. This is a production of Ultra Sign Up. Thank you for joining me. This episode is brought to you by Wahoo Kicker Run. Their sponsorship made this episode possible. Wahoo Kicker Run is a very high-end treadmill, a game changer for indoor training. It has run-free mode, so the belt automatically adjusts to your pace based on your position with no buttons or fuss. It's the closest thing to running outside without going outside. And you can train for running in the mountains because the automatic grade control mimics real-world terrain, shifting from a negative 3% decline to a steep 15% incline. In case you're wondering, I am a big proponent of treadmill training. I personally go to the gym once or twice a week in the winter and during inclement weather, and treadmills are great for tempo runs, for uphills, and they help improve your running form. So check out the Wahoo Kicker Run at wahoofitness.com.
Hi, I'm Anna Frost, and I'm here with Buzz, and we are at the TrailCon conference in Tahoe, Palisades.
Tahoe Palisades, California.
Here we are.
The TrailCon conference is in between the Broken Arrow Sky Race and the West States 100. So people like you have arrived. You flew in at midnight from France. You're originally from Dunedin, New Zealand.
Yes.
The last time I saw you was running up those uber steep grassy hills.
We did too. That was fantastic.
That was so
Fabulous.
steep. But we're having a conversation about female participation in mountain ultra trail running, and you are totally ground floor. You know things that nobody else knows.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of it, that's for sure. I started with actually Innovate way back, and I was doing a fell race out in the UK, and I remember slip and sliding through the mud coming down to the finish line, and the owner, the creator of Innovate, handed me a pair of the Mud Claw. They were amazing shoe.
Deep lugs,
a cross stitch across the foot, and he said, "You're going to need these," and they're magical. And I was so stoked. I was like, "I'm sponsored! Oh my gosh, I can't believe this! I got one pair of free shoes, and I'm sponsored." And it was the start. And that time, we were doing a lot of adventure racing, and I was often the fourth counter, the female that the guys' teams needed.
Well, they had to have you.
They had to have me, unfortunately.
Because for the 4-person team, one had to be a woman,
female.
and you were one of the strongest women in the world.
At that time, I was learning to be, and I was getting towed along to be. It was fantastic. It was an amazing adventure. I started racing with Salomon Saab at that time, and we were doing adventure racing all around Europe. It was fantastic. And then the funding got sort of pulled out of adventure racing, and Salomon responded with, "Well, let's do trail running because it's simple and you just need some shoes."
Just need shoes. No problem.
So that's when my journey in 2009 started with Salomon.
Gotcha.
As a trail running, like specific.
And nowadays, people are getting paid tens of thousands of dollars to be ultra runners, but you got a pair of free shoes.
I got 2 pairs of free shoes. And the thing was, when we started this, we were all wide-eyed little puppy dogs. Let's see the world together. We were a small group of very close friends, and I always call them my meandering family. And we traveled around the world together on these tours for a Salomon of, "Hey, this is trail running, come and join us." And we would go and explore with our friends. We would train hard, we would party hard, and we would show up. And it was a fantastic way to live. You know, they were saying, "Do you want to go with all your best friends to Japan or to South America?" And we said, "Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that wonderful pair of shoes." And it developed and developed over time, you know, but it was definitely, we were not there to be professional. We were there for the lifestyle, for the pure love of exploring these new trails.
Wow, that's saying something. Sports come a long way. That was 2009, 2010. In a way, not that long
It's
ago.
not. It's really not that long ago.
But a world apart from today's professionalism.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's wonderful to see there's been quite a few stages within that where we've seen kind of an elitist trail running group where they come in and they race hard for a year and they go again. For us, it was not about that. It was always about longevity in sport, that we wanted to do trail running forever. And I think you can see the difference in when you look at people like from my era that were racing, they're still racing, they're still running. They might have a few more kids in tow, but they're still out there. Whereas you definitely see in this sort of last couple of eras a little bit more of like a let's go race. We race hard for a year or so and then we carry on and do something else.
But part of that is the emphasis now on 100 mile. 100 mile is just the thing. Well, that never used to be the thing.
No.
And 100 miles takes it out of you. If you go all out on 200 or 300 milers a year, your career might not be that long.
Right. It's a different game in America as it is to Europe. America definitely loves having that 50K, 50 mile, 100 mile. Whereas Europe, it's like, well, that circuit is 38 kilometers. So we'll run 38 kilometers. It's, while they do have some of the biggest, most prestigious 100-mile races in the world.
It's the route.
Yeah, it was never really about that actual distance you had to get. It was about, well, what is the most beautiful way around this mountain? Well, that one's 56K, so that's what we'll do. And for sure, when in my early days of racing, we were doing mountain running, 8 kilometers to the top, have a jog back down, 21 kilometers in the sky running series that was all I was doing. And it was only through pure intrigue when I started visiting America that I was like, oh, what's this 100-mile thing? And I sort of looked at it and I was like, not for me. No, that looks awful. And for me, it is awful. I love it. And it's also one of those like, wow, that's a really long way.
It's a really long way. And as a person who wanted to continue to do the sport, you were doing it for the love, the community, the travel. But the professionalism was coming into it.
Yeah.
And so you had to play the game. I mean, America is so longer is better oriented.
Yes.
That a lot of people had to make the shift to ultra running.
Yeah, we did. And, there wasn't so much pressure to do it, but there was a little bit of like, okay, you've done the trail half marathons, you've done the trail marathons. It's time to step it up, do the 50 mile. And, I remember saying, to some friends, like they said, or are you doing that the San Fran 50 miler? I was like, no way am I doing that. Yeah. And they were like, well, why not? And I was like, oh no, I didn't really have a why not. And I remember getting to 4.5 hours of it. And my manager at the time ran past me and I was like, everything hurts. This is so long. I don't want to be out here anymore. And I still had like 2 hours to go. And it's just it's a complete change of perception, isn't it? You're running hard, but you can't run that hard because then you need to save your body for later when it blows up.
And the party aspect really drops off the end of the table.
It does. You can't stay out all night.
Right. We've been there. And you do something like, even like Sarah's, the Gama, these are hard, really hard, tough, fast races. But when you're done, you catch your breath.
You do.
Then let's go have a good time.
You really do. Yep.
If you finish at 24 hours, it's like...
You're not doing much for days after that. Yeah, and it's an interesting change, and we are seeing a lot of females really leveling up. The gap is getting much closer to the men, which is awesome to see. And I think, we often see women who have had children, who have done that shorter running stuff, and they're, getting back into their trail running, their love of being out in the mountains all day. And all of a sudden, it seems quite nice to be out on the trails all day, to have some space, to have some time to eat junk food on the trail. Oh my gosh, for a whole day.
Time for yourself now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're not going to go out and party anyway.
No, exactly. And so it's, and I think, we often see now with women, there's some women choosing to have a baby and calling it, okay, I'm done professionally. For myself, I was done. My priority wasn't in racing anymore. Your
daughter is 6 now?
She's 6 now, yeah. And it was an instant I didn't have that lioness in me anymore. I was...
The lioness.
Yeah, she was gone. Wow. Yeah, and so I was mum. And that was my priority. Whereas we see other mums going out there with, tiny children crushing it still. For me, it was like a mind blow to be able to do that. And I think it's important to appreciate both types of parents, mothers, fathers.
You can go either way.
Yeah. And it's really important to have both of those types of women in our world so that, the younger women of our generation can see that you can keep going. There's longevity. It doesn't have to be in fast racing the rest of your life, but you should stay in the sport if you love it.
Excellent. Well, keeping with our female participation theme,
Yes.
you know this better than anyone. If I recall, you were one of the top people in the world, one of the marquee people for the Solomon running team, and you wanted to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And pardon me if I don't have this, but my recollection is they weren't happy about you taking any time off.
Right.
And this was at this demarcation period in female participation in running where you could get dropped for wanting to do that part of your life.
Yeah. The contract that we had was if you didn't race within a 6-month period, you may be terminated from your contract. And this was in a time when I had no idea about contracts. None of us knew what we were doing. We had just signed that thing and got our shoes and off we go. There was nothing in our contract for women about getting a maternity leave, having a bit more time to grow through that phase of having a child and slowly coming back into racing or being part of the brand in another way.
You were out.
It was just that's just if you didn't fulfill your contract, then that was it. And so for me, I was like, well, that's my life choice, that I want to be able to, and I didn't know when I was going to be able to have a child because none of us know when we can get pregnant or not. So I was like, well, I'm going to move on and start with another brand. I went with Merrill after that, and they were incredibly supportive. I did race while I was pregnant. And then they were supportive of me saying, I'm done with racing. I worked on a shoe with them and then followed on with a couple of other brands since then. And now just coaching, Frosty's Footsteps coaching. You can find me on annafrosty.org.
Anna Frosty.
Org.
And that's Frosty with a Y.
And that's been absolutely fantastic. I think always the thing that I've loved with being in the sport is seeing other people succeed. Even myself was fantastic, but when you're at the finish line and you're watching people come over that finish line, whether they're, your best friends, your meandering family, or people that you don't know, like the tears in their eyes, the mud on their legs, the bent over body, getting things done, it's such an amazing feeling. And for me, that was always fantastic with trail running, is that we all stood on the same start line at the same time. Everyone, from the elite of the elitist to the person at the very back of the field, we all, stood there together and we raced the same way.
Right. It's not like bike racing where you're seated, where you're in categories. With trail running, you're lining up with everybody. And so you were kind of moved out with your desire to start a family, which you did do that. You've come back. But now it wouldn't be like that, would it? Nowadays, I mean, a pregnancy clause are probably written into most contracts.
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, if they were not, I would not sign the contract. Mm-hmm. I think women have had to step up and say, this is what we believe in. This is what we need. And I think we've seen that, women are getting paid more. And, I was part of a proud group of women that we were racing in Switzerland, and we stood up on, and I'm talking now, maybe even earlier, I want to say 2008 or 7. And we were standing on the podium and we got dressing gowns as a gift.
Dressing gowns?
Dressing gowns.
Okay.
And the guys' awards were sitting there and they got €500 each. And a big crate of wine.
What? They got €500 and a crate of wine. You got a dressing gown
on the podium. And we didn't get off. And they asked us to get off so that the men could come up. And we said, no. Until you give us some of that wine and some of that cash, we're not going anywhere. And the president of mountain running at that time, he agreed. And so they said, okay, from now we're going to match the prize money, the prizes. And, that was the start of a real change, I think, in the sport, that women wanted to run the same as the men. Women deserved the same prize money as the men.
This is the World Mountain Running Championships now.
Yeah. And so that's been a big part of it as well, that how do we keep empowering women to, we can't stop. It's a battle that we have to keep fighting, and we will keep fighting. You have to keep showing up and really fighting for what you believe in, that yes, women deserve the same media coverage. Women deserve the same visibility, as the men, the same money as the men. We're doing the same thing and often quicker, we're showing up. So I think we can see that now in women's racing.
Well, like Mia Hamm, this was the same time as the famous U.S. women's national soccer team.
Yeah.
And someone, a coach, told Mia Hamm, "You run like a girl."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Well, you could too if you were a little faster." And so congratulations. That was an incredible story.
Yeah.
That wasn't that long ago, 15 years
ago. It wasn't that long ago. And it just shows that, unless you have a voice and unless you stand up for what you believe in and feel a little uncomfortable about it and then keep pushing it and keep asking for it, you don't know until you try. They can only say no. And if they say no, you don't budge. So our sport, it's definitely progressing. We've got amazing changes happening. We just can't sit still on it.
Anna, this is fantastic. Yeah. I'm so glad people need to hear this.
They do. Yeah.
And it's annafrosty.org.
Yeah.
So this is for coaching. Yeah. And you're doing group running trips around the world.
Yes.
Is that on annafrosty.org?
You can find it there, but it's Trail Run Adventures.
Trailrunadventures.com.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Well, this is the person you want to go with, I think.
And we do some wonderful trips, and part of those trips also are places that I've raced. And I've got there and I've been like, wow, I want to share this place with other people. I want them to see what I've seen. Mm-hmm. And so our very first trip was in Madeira.
That rocky island in the middle of the Atlantic.
Yes, it is slippery and it is green and it is turquoise and it's blue and it's flowery and it's wonderful. And we said, yeah, let's go and do this. And so our trips they're not fast-paced. We ask people to enjoy it, to go at your own pace, pack a lunch, turn off your watch. And we add in adventures, or we add in special parts of the island. So we do a private catamaran trip. We go canyoning, surfing, wine tasting, of course. And really try to use the local guides and learn about the local culture.
Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, so good to see you again. And it's good to go for a little run with you this morning. It was
wonderful. Thank you.
I look forward to next time.
Yes, wherever that may be. Bye.
Thank you for joining me. I feel like I'm with all my friends. This is Buzz Burrell, and I'll be back 2 weeks from today, delivering more thoughts you've probably never heard before. This podcast is a production of Ultra Sign Up and releases every other Tuesday, alternating with The Trailhead with Zoe Rome and Brendan Leonard. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe and click that button that says 5 stars, because that helps other people find this. Thank you.